All right, we are live. And I think we found a good, I really like this quote. Creation not from need, but from overflow. Not toward a goal, but as pure expression. Not to achieve anything, but as a child plays, for the joy of playing itself. So for the joy of playing itself, let's play. Let's play for the joy of playing itself. We had some great time with Dia. Dia was pretty cool. But now, the year has started. Atlas, OpenAI Atlas is back in the game. One interesting thing that I found was the Anthropic house. Oh, wrong spelling. Yeah, right here we found it. Okay, I was really curious about these books that they have over here. So Ruth Asawa. Okay, list all the books in the photo. Perfect. Perfect. You go down. Let's go. I'll stick to what's clearly identifiable from the photo and the thread discussing Matisse. The cutouts. Which one is that? Wow, this is really cool because it's actually able to read the things that I don't even know. Like, what's this? I have no idea. Technology and virtues. This is thinking, okay, this is technology and virtues. The Danish chair. Okay, you got the Danish chair. You got Ruth Asawa. You didn't get Ruth Asawa. The evolution of useful things. Now I'm really curious. What are these books? What are these books? These were described as printed essays rather than commercial books. Machines of loving grace, weird futures, moral organisms of seeing like a slate. Isamu Noguchi. Okay. Internal applications, non-mass market books. From the cover text, here's what they are. Weird Futures, the brown volume on the left. It has essay design exploring speculative, strange, and non-obvious feature of human society. Think of it as philosophical R&D in print form. Model organisms of misalignment, the off-white volume on the right. Draw examples of AM misalignment, borrowing the idea of model organisms from biology to study failure modes in a controlled way. Very interesting. What else? Wayne Thibaud Masterworks, The Danish Chair, International Affair. Yeah, what is this book? Why do we have a Danish chair? Wow. What's up with the Danish chair? Design history book that explores Denmark's influential contribution to 20th century furniture design. Examines how Danish modern chairs became global design icons, blending craftsmanship, functionality, aesthetics that redefine modern living. Christian Homsted. Design Museum, Denmark, Copenhagen. Scandinavian blend of simplicity, ergonomics, and fine woodworking traditions. Photograph sketches, archival material. Key designers such as Each chapter analyzes aesthetic and technical developments that shape Denmark's global reputation. Really cool. I'm curious, is my quotes app accessible from here? Yes. What if we keep the quotes app open? Fluid Hisson. Okay. Parfait. We can keep the quotes app open in the Claude app, Claude Mac app. We don't have to see everything. Okay. Quotes from. It's also interesting. Like, when do I like to use the keyboard versus when do I like to use the you do love, I do love the magic keyboard, I do love typing, I do love the contact, but yeah, for efficiency, voice is also better. A chair is not finished until someone sits in it. Oh my god, a chair isn't finished until someone sits in it. What can we build using this idea? A chair is not finished until someone sits in it. Excavating philosophical themes around object completion and purpose. Relational ontology. Things exist fully only in relationship to observers, users. Potential versus actualization. Aristotelian concepts of something being in potentia until activated. Whoa. Potential versus actualization. Potential versus actualization. Wow. You are in potentia, you have it, and actualizing is to actually use it until activated, to activate it. Completion through use. Objects achieve their telos only through human interaction. Objects achieve their telos purpose only through human interaction. Wow. Anti-museum philosophy, against the idea of preserved, untouched artifacts, similar to quantum mechanics. The act of engagement transforms the thing itself. The unfinished inventory, the unset chair. Skills you learn but never practiced. Relationships you started but never deepened. Projects begin but never used. Skills you learn but never practiced. Relationships you started but never deepened. Projects you begin but never used. Each one floating in an incomplete state. Wow. What are some beautiful ideas we can build with comparing the language of French and English? What a potent seed. This touches on something Aristotle wrestled with, the distinction between Dynamis and Energeia, actuality. Also, this was very interesting. Yesterday we built something beautiful. We built something beautiful with Sanskrit. What are some Sanskrit words that have no clear alternative in English? There's no clear exact way, like moksha. Wow. Moksha. Explain meaning of the Sanskrit word moksha. We really got into Upanishads and our beautiful Upanishad tree lineage. That was amazing. I need to go back and pin that one. Okay, I will pin that. Building a Sanskrit intellectual lineage. Ajouter au favori. Upanishads. I love that. I was talking about this with a friend today. We can also open it over here, but yeah, moksha, recognized foundation Eastern philosophy concept requiring direct knowledge. This is a fundamental concept. Background interest in Eastern philosophy in the Upanishad. This is right in his wheelhouse. Literally means release or liberation from the root muck, to let loose, set free. Set free. It refers to liberation from samsara, the cycle of death and rebirth, and the suffering inherent in conditioned existence. But the concept has rich layers depending on which tradition you approach it from. In Vedantic philosophy, particularly Advaita, moksha is a realization that the individual self, Atman, was never separate from the ultimate reality, Brahman. Atman, Brahman, Atman, Brahman. Also very interesting, very interesting. In the first place, the liberation isn't gaining something new, it's recognizing what was always true, but obscured by avidya. Wow. Blind spots. I need to find that quote. I really love that quote. What is that quote? Okay, let's find philosophy, Sanskrit, building with Upanishadic wisdom, philosophy book recommendation, complete design. Where is it? Unconventional app concepts, building with Sanskrit. I think this one. Yes. Avidya. I really like this one. Avidya. ras, dharm, moksha. Wow. Moksha is not freedom to something, but freedom from the illusion that you were ever bound. Not an achievement, but a recognition. Liberation from the cycle of becoming. Yet the question remains, who is freed when there was never anyone imprisoned? Moksha. We gotta add this. We gotta add this to our quotes app. Moksha. Moksha, moksha, moksha. Not freedom to something, or freedom from the illusion that you were ever bound, not achievement but recognition, liberation from the cycle of becoming. And the question remains, who is freed when there was never anyone imprisoned? There was never anyone in prison. As in gaining something, is recognizing what was always true but obscured by avidya, ignorance. It's also very interesting. We have this idea of sandhi vichhed, which is breaking down the word, and avidya. Vidya means knowledge, is negation, so no knowledge, or not knowledge, no knowledge. And here in this specific context, avidya means ignorance. The famous Upanishadic formula, Tattvam Masi, you are that, points to this. In Samkhya Yoga, Moksha comes through discriminating between Purush, pure consciousness, and Prakriti, matter, nature, recognizing you are the witness, not the witnessed. You are the witness, not the witnessed. In devotion traditions, Bhakti, Moksha often takes the form of eternal communion with the divine rather than the dissolution into it. What makes moksha interesting philosophically is that it's not merely an afterlife concept, it can be achieved while living. Jivan Mukti. Jivan Mukti, moksha prapti. The liberated person continues to act in the world but without attachment to outcomes, free from the gravitational pull of karma. Freedom from the illusion that you were ever bound. I love that. I love that because it's so true. I think some inadequate translations, as they say, is salvation. Salvation, I think still it means that you found something that solved all your problems. But no, you never found anything. You just found that you were never bound. Freedom from the illusion that you were ever bound. Moksha is the freedom from the illusion that you were ever bound. Explain the meaning of the word Leela. So now we are getting into Leela. Leela translates literally as play, sport, divine play. Beautiful philosophical concept that ties to the Hindu cosmology and philosophy. It's a radical cosmological proposition that the universe exists not out of necessity, obligation, or some divine need, but as spontaneous, joyful play. It's a radical cosmological proposition that the universe exists not out of necessity, obligation, or some divine need, but as spontaneous, joyful play. Creation is the cosmic equivalent of a child building sandcastles for the sheer delight of it. It's a radical cosmological proposition that the universe exists not out of necessity, obligation, or some divine need, but as spontaneous, joyful play. Creation is the cosmic equivalent of a child building sandcastles for the sheer delight of it. The theological implications are profound. Unlike creation myths driven by purpose. It's very interesting. Right now I'm thinking about this entire idea of my family group chat, of how And reminds me, my entire inspiration for my family group chat comes from Balaji's one quote that I forgot how he phrased it, but basically what it means is that instead of, oh wow, I have my new Oakley glasses, but okay, the concept is that instead of trying to fix the existing system, build the new system from ground up. Instead of fixing the old world, try to build the new world that you want from ground up. And I'm like, okay, that is exactly my group chat right now. That, okay, there's one space where there's one space where there are some rules, there's some history, there's some lore that has been set. So now you have to change that. Now you change that. Wow, this looks good. I look like someone who I know. Okay. All right, this looks good. Leela. Let's go. Leela translates literally as place, sport, divine, given it's a radical cosmological proposition that the universe exists not out of necessity, obligation, or some divine need, but as spontaneous, joyful play. Creation is the cosmic equivalent of a child. Creation is the cosmic equivalent of a child building sandcastles for the sheer delight of it. The theological implications are profound. Unlike creation, yeah, we need to also keep fixing our body posture, because just sitting constantly in a certain position can start hurting. So hand movement, back, legs, everything. You gotta keep moving. You gotta keep switching positions. Okay. Alright, it's a radical cosmological proposition that the universe exists not out of necessity, obligation, or some divine need, but as spontaneous, joyful play. Creation is the cosmic equivalent of a child building sandcastles. The theological implications are profound. Unlike creation. Leela. Radical cosmological position. Like creation, myths driven by purpose, God created to be worshipped or to solve loneliness or to test souls. Driven by purpose, Leela suggests the divine creates the way an artist creates, not because something is lacking, but from an overflow of creative energy. Brahman doesn't need the universe. I really love this phrase. An overflow of creative energy. An overflow of creative energy. I love how Apple Notes doesn't have overflow. Creation not from need but from overflow. Not toward a goal but as pure expression. Not to achieve anything but as a child plays for the joy of playing itself. I love how Apple Notes doesn't have red color, it has rose. Okay, anyways. Like creation, myths driven by purpose, God created to be worshipped or to solve loneliness or to test souls. Leela suggests the divine creates the way an artist creates, not because something is lacking, but from an overflow of creative energy. I think this is it, like realizing that you are not always searching for a solution. I really like the word blind spots. I was talking to a friend about blind spots. I don't know why I always think about blind spots, because I feel like I don't know something. I'm always thinking like there's something that I don't know, and if I just know about it, things will be better. Like I'm just missing something. And I think this is very interesting that you just need there's no solution that once you have the solution everything will be fixed. It's just that you just have to be in the state where you feel alive. And what is that state where you feel alive? You are in the state of overflow of creative energy. focus is overflow of creative energy. Overflow of creative energy, rapid evolution. Sure. Creation not from need but from overflow, not toward a goal but as pure expression, not to achieve anything, but as a child plays with the joy of playing itself. Unlike creation, myths driven by purpose, God creating to be worshipped, not to solve loneliness or to test souls. Leela suggests the divine creates the way an artist creates, not because something is lacking, but from an overflow of creative energy. Brahman doesn't need the universe is Brahman at play with itself. The hide-and-seek dimension in Advaita influenced thought. Leela includes the idea that the infinite consciousness hides from itself by fragmenting into countless beings who then seek their way back to recognizing their true nature. You are Brahman playing and being Prashant. Whoa. I think this is also the reason why I like AI, because what happens is that you are able to go straight to the source with AI. That, okay, give me the exact quotes from the book. Because what is happening today is that, let's say, the main source, the main corpus of human knowledge comes from, let's say, a certain book, let's say the Upanishads, right? The main source of Western philosophy, or the main source of Eastern philosophy. For Eastern philosophy, let's say it's Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita. For Western philosophy, let's say it's Bible. So what is happening now is that instead of us going straight to the main source, we are going through several generations of iterations of interpretations, and several generations, and not generations but centuries, and several millennia of iterations on interpretations, interpretations of interpretations. So compounding interpretations, I don't know what's the right way to say it. So what is happening is that we sometimes get confused, we sometimes are, and sometimes the people, the middleman, let's say it's again middleman, like the entire world is right now about cutting the middleman. Always cut the middleman. Always cut the middleman. Always seek to cut the middleman and go straight to the source. I like that. Always aim to cut the middleman. And go straight to the source. Always aim to cut the middleman and go straight to the source. Go for the main man. Who was it? Yeah. Go for the main man. Cut the middleman. Go straight to the source. Cut the middleman. Middlemen. It could be middlemen. Cut the middleman. Go straight to the source. What was it talking about? But yeah, that is interesting. Theological implications. Divine creates the way an artist creates, not because something is lacking, but an overflow creative energy. Brahman doesn't need the universe. The universe is Brahman at play with itself. The hide-and-seek dimension in Advaita influenced thought. Leela includes the idea that the infinite consciousness hides from itself by fragmenting into countless beings, then seek their way. Right, so we were talking about this idea that, it's the compounding interpretations that are in the way. And I really wanted to read about Bhagavad Gita, and then I got this one book. This book was an interpretation by this one organization, and it was overlaid with a lot of complicated things, which there is also a language gap. That yes, Bhagavad Gita was written in a particular language, which is really hard to understand for humans, let's say. So it's not hard to understand for humans, but it's hard to understand based on the language that based on how language has evolved over centuries, over generations. So that plays a role over there. So you want to make sure that there's someone who translates the old language to the new language without cutting out on the meaning, without cutting out on the juice, the ras. And I think that is something really important. And go straight to the source. I really wanted to read that, and then I came across this book, but that book had too many interpretations and too many complicated things, and I'm like, I'm not able to actually get the juice out of it, because it's just distracted and, what do we say, sprinkled with too much stuff that it's either not necessary or it's not in the language that I would understand. The Advaita influence thought Leela includes the idea that the infinite consciousness hides from itself by fragmenting into countless beings who then seek their way back to recognizing their true nature. Feel alive. The Advaita influence thought Leela includes the idea that the infinite consciousness hides from itself by fragmenting into countless beings who then seek their way back to recognizing their true nature. You are Brahman, playing and being Prashant, temporarily forgetting the game in order to make the rediscovery meaningful. You are Brahman, playing and being Prashant, temporarily forgetting the game in order to make the rediscovery meaningful. Moksha then is the moment the seeker realizes they were the hider all along. Moksha then is the moment the seeker realizes they were the hider all along. Hides from itself. Infinite consciousness hides from itself by fragmenting. Oh my God. The hide and seek dimension. How does Hindu philosophy explain infinite consciousness? Leela includes the idea that the infinite consciousness hides from itself by fragmenting into countless beings who then seek their way back, recognizing their true nature. You are Brahman, playing at being Prashant, temporarily forgetting the game in order to make the rediscovery meaningful. Moksha then is the moment the seeker realizes they were the hider all along. Krishna is the embodiment of Leela. This is why Krishna, playful, mischievous, dancing, flute playing, becomes the archetypal figure of Leela. His actions defy utilitarian logic. Playful, mischievous, dancing, flute playing becomes the archetypal figure of Leela. His actions defy utilitarian logic. The Bhagavat Purana is essentially Leela literature. This is why Krishna, playful, mischievous, dancing, flute playing, becomes the archetypal figure of Leela. His actions defy utilitarian logic. The Bhagavat Purana is essentially Leela literature. This is why Krishna, playful, mischievous, dancing, flute playing, becomes the archetypal figure of Leela. His actions defy utilitarian logic. Bhagavat Purana is essentially Leela literature, the existential reframe. Leela offers a counterpoint to both nihilism, it's all meaningless, and heavy-handed teleology, everything serves a grand purpose. Instead, it's meaningful precisely because it's play, freely chosen, intrinsically valuable, not reducible to outcomes. Its play, freely chosen, intrinsically valuable, not reducible to outcomes. Its existence as improvisational jazz rather than a scored symphony, an overflow of creative energy. Yes. philosophical interest and the conversational context, I think he's drawn to this specific concept and wants me to go deeper. This connects to a specific philosophical concept, the idea of creation from abundance rather than lack. Yes, this maps to a specific concept. Spund, the primordial vibration or throb of consciousness. Yes, this maps to a specific concept. Spund, the... This is very interesting. I think this is very interesting. I think people start reading into... It's also interesting. People start reading about philosophy. People think that, oh, philosophy and spirituality is something that once you grow older, then you devote yourself to it because you have nothing else to do, so you devote yourself to it, and that's everything that you do. On the other hand, there are people, you have to use this another tool set to give meaning to your work. And then again, this is like not just consuming knowledge, it's consuming, creating. And this is how you get into a cycle of living. Because what is life? Life is basically actual real experiences that you are having, how you are interacting with the world. And it's not that, oh, first 50 years or 60 years of your life you just work, you just create, and then you just consume. You have to be in the cycle of consuming, creating. So spirituality is not something that comes later in life. I think it's like, it's part of it. It's just like everything. Spirituality just means that it gives you kind of, you are chasing meaning of why are you doing things that you are doing. That's it, I think. It helps you when you get too nihilistic, because after a point when you no longer want to work from the idea that from a somebody called this dirty fuel versus clean fuel. So dirty fuel is that, oh, I am doing my thing because of competition, because I want to crush this person, because of this hate, because of this certain emotion that I had. But you don't have to do that. You can just use a clean fuel, which is, I'm just operating from abundance. I just want to create. Creator. This maps to a specific concept, spund, the primordial vibration or throb of consciousness. The idea is that pure awareness isn't static. It pulses, not because it lacks something and reaches outward to fill the void, but because stillness at its most. I think today Elon Musk said something about optimistic. And I'm actually really curious, like, why didn't Elon Musk, why is Elon just saying that, oh, just be optimistic. No, you should actually create. Instead of telling people to be optimistic, ask people to create, ask people to contribute, ask people to create and contribute. And I think this is like a very popular quote, that you want people to feel alive. I forgot what's the exact quote, but pretty much everybody wants to feel alive. Actually, let's go back to our quotes app. What does our quotes app say? Quotes. Let's go. Version 14, Joseph Campbell. Yes, I don't think that people are looking for the meaning of life as much as they are looking for the experience of being alive. That's it. People want to feel alive, and you don't be alive by just being optimistic. You feel alive by actually creating, by doing something, by contributing. The primordial vibration or throb of consciousness, concept spund. The idea is that pure awareness isn't static. It pulses, not because it lacks something and reaches outward to fill the void, but because stillness at its most complete naturally overflows into expression. This reminds me of Krishnamurti and Alan Watts and stuff like that. It's very cool. So alright, let's go back to a lineage. Who was Alan Watts inspired by? Let's go. Uri, Donc curseur. Okay, Alan Watts. Where's Alan Watts? Whoa. Alan Watts, yes. So Alan Watts was... So now actually, let's check this. Made Eastern philosophy accessible to Western counterculture, the book and countless lectures brought Vedantic ideas to millions. He was influenced by Huxley and Carl Jung. Okay, Aldous Huxley. Now I'm really curious. Some quotes from Aldous Huxley. Give me some quotes from Aldous Huxley. I should reproduce long passages from his works, however short quotes that are widely attributed to him and commonly circulated should be fine. From education information purposes are generally acceptable. Let me provide some well-known quotes. Okay. So this is what AI is usually worried about, that not just like copying fully. On knowledge and understanding, the more you know, the more you realize you know nothing. On experience, experience is not what happens to you, it's what you do with what happens to you. Experience is not what happens to you, it's what you do with what happens to you. Facts do not cease to exist because they are ignored. Facts do not cease to exist because they are ignored on technological distraction. Technological progress has merely provided us with more efficient means for going backwards. Technological progress has merely provided us with more efficient means for going backwards. On the pursuit of happiness, happiness is not achieved by the conscious pursuit of happiness. It is generally the byproduct of other activities. After silence, that which comes nearest to expressing the inexpressible is music. Music, yes. After silence, that which comes nearest to expressing the inexpressible is music. Consistency is contrary to nature, contrary to life. The only completely consistent people are the dead. It's very interesting. The only truly consistent people are dead. The only completely consistent people are the dead. It's so interesting. That is so interesting. That is so interesting. That is so interesting. I love that. I love that. So interesting. Okay, let's go. On perception. There are things known and there are things unknown in between the doors of perception. Often explored the tension between individual freedom and social control, the limits of rationality and the search for transcendence, themes that ran through both his fiction like Brave New World philosophical essays, given interested philosophical instruments, and Nietzschean self-development. You might particularly appreciate his later work, The Perennial Philosophy, which synthesizes Eastern and Western mystical traditions. Find me link to the full text to The Perennial Philosophy. I still think about Claude, like somebody, I think it was Lulu, and Lulu said that some people's strategy is like Claude's logo, it's just everywhere. That's so funny. Claude's logo has become like a way to as an analogy to talk about people who have these strategies that are just like they want to go everywhere. Free library lending, okay. 377 pages, wow. Okay, Internet Archive, let's go. The Perennial Philosophy. Full screen. Aldous Huxley. Time must have a star after many a summer. I less in Gaza, brave new world, point counterpoint. Point counterpoint, those barren leaves, antique hay, chrome yellow. Science, liberty and peace, the art of seeing ends and means, music at night, vulgarity in literature, do what you will, proper studies, jesting, pilot, along the road on the margin, text and pretext, beyond the Mexique Bay, the olive tree, the chicaras, that art thou, the nature of the crown, personality, sanctity, divine incarnation. It was really funny yesterday. One of my French teacher, he was searching up Rad, because Rad is one of the news publications, French news publications. So he was like telling that, hey, look into Rad. They have good videos. That's good for learning, practicing your French. And when he searched Rad, it opened up Radha Jap, and he's like, oh, this is very important. This is very important before your exam. Radha Jap. Philosophia Perennis. Wow. Okay. Internet archive. Philosophia Perennis. The phrase was coined by Lebanese. But the thing, the metaphysic that recognizes a divine reality substantial to the world of things and lives and lives and minds, the psychology that finds in the soul something similar to or even identical with divine reality, the ethnic that places man's final end in the knowledge of the immanent and transcendent ground of all being. The thing is immemorial and universal. Rudiments of the perennial philosophy may be found among the traditionary lore of primitive peoples in every region of the world and in its fully developed forms. One thing that comes to mind is this thing called remotion. Remotion has been make videos programmatically, create real MP4 videos with React. Scalable recording. Demo. Temperature in Vancouver. Whoa, how did it know? Did it know that I live in Vancouver? Whoa. Pricing, free license. Trusted by GitHub. Never build alone. This is really cool. Reality substantially the world of things and lives and minds, the psychology that finds in the soul something similar to or even identical with divine reality, the ethic that places man's final end in the knowledge of the immanent and transcendent ground of all being. The thing is immemorial and universal. Rudiments of the perennial philosophy may be found among the traditionally lore of primitive peoples in every region of the world and in its fully developed forms. It has a place in every one of the higher religions. A version of this highest common factor in all preceding and subsequent theologies was first committed to writing more than 25 centuries ago, and since that time the inexhaustible theme has been treated again and again from the standpoint of every religious tradition and in all the principal languages of Asia and Europe. In the pages that follow, I have brought together a number of selections from these writings whose chosen mainly for the significance because they effectively illustrated some particular point in the general system of the perennial philosophy, but also for their intrinsic beauty and memorableness. These selections are arranged under various heads and embedded, so to speak. Okay, I'm gonna set the intention. An overflow. For their intrinsic beauty and memorableness, these selections are arranged. Whoa, you can just go like this. This is pretty cool. Whoa, that's pretty cool. Open random page. Wow. Wow, this is like a book. I like this. I like this because it's like sometimes the beauty of having a book in your hand, a real book in your hand, is that you could do this. Then I have this book. You open a random page, and now you are like, okay, a happy person isn't someone who's happy all the time. It's someone who effortlessly interprets events in such a way that they don't lose their innate peace. Desire is a contract that you make with yourself to be unhappy until you get what you want. And then you can also do this. I don't think you can do that, but okay. Apply specific knowledge with leverage, and eventually you will get what you deserve. Dietary fat drives satiety. Dietary sugar drives hunger. The sugar effect dominates. Control your appetite accordingly. Ooh, this reminds me, I forgot to bring some Greek yogurt today. Okay. When thou didst give thyself up to physical mortification, thou was great, thou was admired, which led him, just as Gautam Buddha had been led many centuries before, to give up his course of bodily penance. I'm just curious, let's see. What books, philosophy influenced Gautam Buddha the most? Tested against lived experience and quietly discarded what didn't survive contact with reality. The Vedas, especially the Upanishadic turn, already pivoting away from ritual and toward inner knowledge. Introspection is a path to truth. The idea that liberation is an inner realization, not divine reward. Serious meditation as a legitimate epistemic tool. I have no idea what the word epistemic means. And this keeps going. Okay. I guess I'm gonna get into meditation now. Meditation is the next thing. We gotta do some meditation. Wow. Wow. Wow, okay. Introspection is a path to truth. The idea that liberation. Okay, this reminds me. Not reminds me. But let's make this first change. Whenever an idea pops in our mind, we gotta go do one quick change always. And it's really cool how your Twitter keeps going through this. You keep going through this idea of recomposition. Recomposition is very interesting. The moment you start doing more and more and more and more, and I think internet is a gift. Internet is a gift. Whoever made internet, this is a gift. I mean to say thank you to whoever made internet. Who made internet? Who is the founder of internet? Can you just say thank you to the founder of internet? But yeah, whoever the internet founder is beautiful. That what you can really do is you can keep posting, keep creating, and slowly the people who are aligned will be connected to you. They will find you, and that's it. That is all that needs to be done. The right people will keep finding you. The people who are not aligned will keep unfollowing you, and you will slowly find the right thing. So I think that is it. I like this new one. An overflow of creative energy. An overflow of creative energy. Perfect. So he's the founder of internet. There was no founder. Architects of the internet. Vint Cerf, Bob Kahn, often called fathers of the internet. Designed TCP, ARPANET. Donald Davies coined the term packet, resilient decentralized networking. Leonard Kleinrock developed packet switching theory, envisioned an intergalactic computer network. The web is not internet. Tim Berners-Lee. The web, but they're different layers on the World Wide Web. He created HTML, HTTP, URL. January 1, 1983. Ooh, comic readers, the internet's birthday. Global Infrastructure Network Protocol. Cerf, Con, ARPANET, World Wide Information Layer on the top. Berners-Lee. One is plumbing, the other is the library. You would say, Vint Cerf with important footnote, that internet is a civilization scale collaboration on a single invention. Top quotes from Vint Cerf. Wow. I thought he Whisperflow was gonna be like Vint Cerf, because Vint Cerf is the tool. But yeah, the internet is for everyone. Short, declarative, almost constitutional. Underlies open standards, interoperability, and the refusal to centralize power. The internet was not designed for security. On design and decentralization, the internet is a network of networks. If it's not interoperable, it's not internet. Compatibility is the hidden ethic. The internet survives not by dominance but by cooperation. On engineering philosophy, we reject kings, presidents, and voting. We believe in rough consensus and running code. We reject kings, presidents, and voting. We believe in rough consensus and running code. Internet engineering culture captures the internet's quiet rebellion against authority. Truth is what works. The biggest challenge is not technical, it's social. The biggest challenge is not technical, it's social. A reminder that protocols scale faster than wisdom. The biggest challenge is not technical, it's social. Wow. Vint Cerf. Vint Cerf. The biggest challenge is not technical, it's social. This is very interesting. It goes even with Farcaster, that even for Farcaster the biggest challenge was whoa. Hey, yeah, go. Nice. Even with Farcaster, like, what real challenge was not technical, it was actually social, to make people care about the tool. It was not just it was not about technicalities, because they figured out technicalities. With great connectivity comes great responsibility. Connectivity. The internet has no conscience. Values must be supplied by humans. The network will faithfully amplify whatever we feed it. The internet has no conscience. Values must be supplied by humans. The network will faithfully amplify whatever we feed it. Wow. The internet has no conscience. I really like this one. Wow, this compares today's situation. Vint Cerf. The internet has no conscience. You want to keep it testing what works better. Vint Cerf. The internet has no conscience. The network will faithfully amplify whatever we feed it. Claude mapped the ideal lineage of the Upanishads, revealing how the influence shaped minds from the Buddha to Emerson, Nietzsche, Tesla, Steve Jobs, Christopher Nolan, Jordan Peterson, and more. This was very interesting. You have an obligation to ensure that the internet remains open and accessible to all. As a commons that can be enclosed if neglected. Okay, let's see this. Introspection is a path to truth. The idea that liberation is an inner realization or divine reward. Serious meditation as a legitimate epistemic tool. Oh, wait, did I search that? What is the meaning of epistemic? Finally, finally, for one and all. Well, for one and all. Finally, let's understand what is epistemic. Having to do with knowledge. Okay, an idea popped in my mind. Build an app that helps people learn 20 beautiful English words to enhance their vocabulary and add more flavor to their language. Having to do with knowledge. Epistemic humility. Epistemic. How knowledge is acquired, justified, and validated. It comes from the Greek epistem, meaning knowledge or understanding. If something is epistemic, it's about how we know what we know. How we know what we know, what counts as good evidence, why a belief is justified rather than just guessed. Not what is true, but how truth is known. Quick contrast. Epistemic question, how do we know this is true? Ontological question, what actually exists? How do we know this is true? Ontological, what actually exists? Ethical, what should we do? What counts as good evidence? Why a belief is justified rather than just guessed? How truth is known. Epistemic humility, a stance that recognizes the limits of one's knowledge. Epistemic uncertainty due to epistemic uncertainty due to knowledge, having to do with knowledge, due to lack of knowledge, not randomness. Uncertainty, epistemic uncertainty, due to lack of knowledge. Epistemic authority, a source trusted because of its knowledge or method. Epistemic authority, epistemic risk of forming false beliefs. Epistemic risk. Tight example. Science is an epistemic system having to do with knowledge system, producing reliable knowledge. Not a claim to absolute truth. Knowledge about knowledge. Wow. Knowledge about knowledge. Epistemic humility. Very complex one. Nice. Introspection is a path to truth. The idea that liberation is an inner realization or divine reward. Serious meditation as a legitimate epistemic tool having to do with knowledge. Tool. Eternal Atman, unchanging self, liberation through metaphysical speculation alone. You can feel the Upanishads behind him even where he disagrees, like a respectful but firm rebuttal written in silence. Smyrna traditions, renunciant movements. Smyrna. This was the rebel ecosystem of the time, wandering ascetics, skeptics, meditators, extremists. Smyrna traditions. From here he learned radical renunciation, meditation outside priestly authority, liberation as something done, not inherited. But after trying severe asceticism himself, this was the rebel ecosystem of the time, wandering ascetics, skeptics, meditators, extremists. From here he learned radical renunciation, meditation outside priestly authority. Liberation as something done, not inherited. It's done, not inherited. You don't inherit liberation, you do it. You do it. After trying severe asceticism himself, he walked away, not back to comfort, forward into precision. Jainism, Mahavir was alive and teaching during the Buddha lifetime. Influences non-violence, ethical seriousness, karma as moral casuality. Break, extreme self-mortification, the belief that pain purifies. This rejection gave birth to the middle way, one of the most quietly radical ideas in history. The middle way, right? The middle way. Smyrna. Liberation through metaphysical speculation alone. What is metaphysics? The physics of physics. Meta. It's metaphysics. Okay. The belief that pain purifies, extreme self-mortification, non-violence, ethical seriousness, karma as moral casualty. Some philosophy. A systematic analytical map of reality. Shared ground. Suffering as structural, not accidental. Liberation via insight, not prayer. Meditative discrimination. Divergence. Samkhya posits an eternal self Purush. Buddha replaces it with dependent origination and non-self. Think of Samkhya as a clean blueprint the Buddha deliberately left unfinished. Suffering as structural, not accidental. Liberation via insight, not prayer. Meditative discrimination. Liberation via insight, not prayer. Insight, not prayer. I think this is also very interesting. We might have a lot of people who pray, but they don't truly know. They don't truly know. They are praying. Meditative discrimination. Divergence. Samkhya posits an eternal self. Buddha replaces it with dependent origination and non-self. Think of Samkhya as a clean blueprint the Buddha deliberately left unfinished. Yogic meditation traditions. Yoga. Before enlightenment, the Buddha mastered deep absorption states, jhanas. What he kept meditation as a technology of mind, concentration as stabilizer. Before enlightenment, the Buddha mastered deep absorption states. Meditation as a technology of mind, concentration as stabilizer. What he transcended. It's also very interesting. This reminds me of one of my friends who I once asked him, like, hey, what do you, at a certain point I just asked him that, what were you thinking about? And he said that something on metaphysics. And it felt like, and he actually said that after me trying to really pin down that, hey, what were you exactly thinking? And it felt like people do feel a bit cringe talking about metaphysics, which is very interesting. People feel, what do they feel? They feel like this is not something normal people talk about. And even though they're interested in it, they don't talk about it. Which is very interesting. Before enlightenment, the Buddha mastered deep absorption states. Meditation as a technology of mind, concentration as stabilizer. What he kept meditation as technology of mind. Technology of mind. Oh my God. What is metaphysics? Let's go over here. Samkhya. I think I really like Claude's answer. I think Claude is very ChatGPT feels like a robot responding. But Claude does feel like a smart person that you actually want to talk to. A kind, smart person that you want to talk to. Yeah, that's right. Samkhya philosophy, systematic analytical map of various suffering as structural liberation via insight, not prayer. I think this is very important. A liberation via insight, not prayer. You don't just think that you have this couple lines that if you repeat in a music with a musical note and you keep saying that, problems will be solved. You actually have to learn, you actually have to get to that insight, apply that insight in your life, and then apply that insight in your daily life, and then keep going. Samkhya posits an eternal self. Buddha replaces it with dependent origination and non-self. Yoga. Before enlightenment, the Buddha mastered deep absorption states, meditation as a technology of mind. Did we ask that? Wow, fascinating reframe. Yes. Concentration as stabilizer, void transcendent, trance as liberation, bliss as truth. Awakening wasn't another state, it was seeing through all states. What he transcended, trance as liberation, bliss as truth, empirical insight over textual authority. This is subtle but crucial. The Buddha did not claim revelation, did not anchor truth in scripture, did not claim revelation, did not anchor truth in scripture, did not defer to tradition, did not claim revelation, did not anchor truth in scripture, did not defer to tradition. Instead, do not go by reports, tradition, or hearsay. This stance quietly dismantled the epistemology, epistemology of his age. Meditation as a technology of mind, where he transcended. Okay, this is very interesting. Yogic meditation traditions, where he transcended trance as liberation, bliss as truth. Dependent origination, non-self, clean blueprint, left unfinished. Didn't inherit a philosophy. He debugged one civilization's worth of thought from the Vedas, seriousness from the Upanishads, from the Vedas, seriousness from the Upanishads, inwardness. Upanishads is all about going inwards. Carl Jung, I was talking to one of our podcasts was all about Carl Jung, and I'm really happy. I'm really happy of how my focus for my podcast led me over here, because I talked to this one artist. He mentioned Carl Jung and Upanishads. So at least while interviewing him, I went deeper into Carl Jung, and then Carl Jung took over my entire timeline, my YouTube recommendation, and then I got deeper and deeper into it. And I really started to align with that idea of individuation. And then I met this another guy, and he challenged me, another artist who challenged me that, no, your work, this is individuation. When I do this, he showed me this one wooden thing that he's working on, and he was like, when I do this one thing, this is individuation. And he was referring to someone else. So he had another influence, or another person who influenced his thought. I forgot who he mentioned. I think he mentioned an Indian person, an Indian monk, let's say. So yeah, it's also very interesting. There's so many, like when we say monks and everything, it's like you try to think that they know something that you don't know. But I think if you have to bring down to two ideas, it should be only these two ideas. And number one, I want to make sure that I always say this in the right way. But number one is, you are not looking for freedom to something. You're not looking for freedom from something. You are looking for freedom from the illusion that you were ever bound. Number one. Number two, Leela, overflow of creative energy. I think these two are the only important thing to understand from all these scriptures. Like, all these scriptures should come down to only these two ideas, that you were never bound by anything. Yes, we are constantly searching for freedom. We are looking for freedom. We are looking for, in English we have this word salvation. We are looking for salvation. We are looking for, we'll get somewhere, we'll eat something, we'll drink some coffee, we'll drink some alcohol, we'll have some drug, we'll go to this one party, we'll get this award, we'll receive this award, we'll meet some person, and we'll suddenly have salvation. You're not looking for freedom from something and suddenly everything will be good. You're not looking for freedom from something. You are looking for freedom from the illusion that you were ever bound. So that is number one. And number two is creation from abundance rather than lack. Creation, overflow. You have an overflow of creative energy. An overflow of creative energy. Because I used to look at these podcasts and I was like, so I didn't get it. It's 1 hour long. Do I have to listen to the entire thing for some insight to happen? That's right. I think insight is also important. The core synthesis. The Buddha didn't inherit a philosophy. He inherited a philosophy, debugged one civilization's worth of thought from the Veda's seriousness. He debugged one civilization's worth of thought, seriousness, from the Upanishads' inwardness, from Jainism, ethics, from yoga, method, from ascetics, discipline. Seriousness, inwardness, from Jainism, ethics, from yoga, method, from ascetics, discipline. This also reminds me, like, White House has a new website and it looks beautiful. So let's look into it, because Joe Gebbia made this. So let's see. Aesthetics. Prosperity marked by record-setting economic growth and trillions in new private sector investments fueled by tax reforms, deregulation, and renewed focus on American innovation. Global leader in AI with record-setting capital expenditure driving productivity and technological advancement. Such policies secure the southern border, reducing illegal entries to historic lows, unseen decades, and restoring national sovereignty while energy dominance and cost-cutting measures significantly improved affordability for families. Golden age of American greatness, promising even greater opportunity and security ahead. Aesthetics, security, grow economy, strengthen national security. Unleash American energy. Unleash is such a good word. Unleash and overflow. Kimball Musk. That's Kimball Musk. Okay, let's see. What are the investments? The Trump effect. America first economic policy has sparked trillions of dollars in new investments in US manufacturing. Let's go. Look at this list. Regeneron, Lilly, Merck, Apple. They just put all the logos over here. They're like, when a startup and Airbnb, when Joe Gebbia is like Airbnb, okay, when Airbnb is starting to work with some commercial partners, they're like, oh yeah, we'll put Apple, you're working on these with this. They just put every other logo. There'll be Anduril, there's Paris Baguette, okay. There's SoftBank. Why is SoftBank over here? Genentech, look at Genentech. recently. Genentech, the founder of Genentech. Who's the founder of Genentech? Yes. Who is the founder of Genentech? Genentech. Where's OpenAI? Where's Anthropic? We have Schneider Electric, we have Siemens, we have Asahi Group. OpenAI, yes. We found OpenAI. There's Anthropic. Herbert Boyer, co-founded by Robert Swanson. Boyer was scientific mind, pioneer recombinant DNA, unlock ability to splice genes like sentences, turning biology into something programmable. Swanson was the catalytic force, young venture capitalist who saw that this science wasn't just elegant, it could change medicine at industrial scale. Yes, this is pretty good. US and foreign investments, 9.6 trillion. Oh my god. Lego. This is billions and billions and all. 1.4 trillion UAE. Qatar 1.2 trillion. Japan 1 trillion. Meta 600. Apple 600. Saudi Arabia 600. OpenAI, Oracle 500. Nvidia 500. India 500. South Korea 450. Micron 200. Amazon 100, TSMC 100, Pfizer 70, Anthropic 50, AstraZeneca 50, Stellantis, Novartis, John Deere, Boeing, Heinz, Chobani, Abbott, Silver Lake, Whirlpool, let's go. Paris Baguette, let's go. You can just sell Baguette and invest 160 million. Let's go. Hey, Baguette is a good business. WH Wire. Board of Peace kicks off a ceremony in Davos. WH Wire. Livestream. Stay tuned, will be live again shortly. You always have to be live. Live stream. Katie Pavlik of News Nation. Wow, look at this. Look at this. Look at this setup. So aesthetic. Energy officials. Oh my god, look at this photo. They are doing an incredible job at aesthetics. You can't beat the USA aesthetics. Look at this one dot over here, this Christmas tree. Crazy. And these old school phones. He's like, I'm not doing AirPods, I'm on the old school phone. Oh my god, yes. Really cool. Turkey. Wow, beautiful. Ronaldo. McDonald's, the golden age, locally owned, nationally loved. McDonald's Impact Summit 2025. This is crazy. On one end, Robert Kennedy's like hitting, like taking shots on McDonald's, and Donald Trump is like, I love my McChicken. From yoga method, from aesthetics. Whenever I say aesthetics, I think about aesthetics, discipline. Then he subtracted eternal self, metaphysical excess, ritual dependence, eternal self, metaphysical excess, ritual dependence, pain as purification. What remained was startlingly modern. Suffering has causes. Causes can be understood. Understanding rewires experience. Liberation is pragmatic, not cosmic. Map Buddha Upanishads point by point, compare Buddha and Socrates as parallel epistemic rebels. Show how the lineage flows into modern psychology and cognitive science. Just say the word. Suffering has causes. Causes can be understood. Understanding rewires experience. Suffering has causes. Causes can be understood. Understanding rewires experience. Liberation is pragmatic, not cosmic. Suffering has causes. Causes can be understood. Understanding rewires experience. Understanding rewires experience. Liberation is pragmatic. Liberation is pragmatic, not cosmic. Liberation is pragmatic, not cosmic. Oakley. I'm not understanding this. Okay. Suffering has causes. Causes can be understood. Understanding rewires experience. Liberation is pragmatic, not cosmic. Okay. Most fundamental questions about reality. How do we know? What exists in the first place? Well, metaphysics studies being in existence. What does it mean to exist? Do numbers exist? Souls, time, possibilities? I'm really curious. Who are some prominent philosophers from Russia? Let's do this. Fyodor Dostoevsky. Leo Tolstoy. Wow. Oh my god. Okay. Knowledge by trade, philosopher of gravity. He probed freedom, guilt, faith, and psychology of evil. The brother Karamazov doubles as a theology seminar disguised as family drama. Alexander Herzen, Marxism, Revolution, Particle Philosophy, Russian Cosmism. Nikolai Berdyaev, freedom was his obsession. He fused Christianity with existentialism and rejected both authoritarian religion and mechanistic socialism. Now, list who were all these people influenced by. Hidden root system beneath the Russian thinker is not a neat family tree, more a tangle of tap roots reaching into theology, German idealism, Greek tragedy, and lived catastrophe. Okay. Dostoevsky. Leo Tolstoy influenced by Arthur Schopenhauer. Wow. If you look into Arthur Schopenhauer, he was influenced by Upanishads. Okay. Soren Kierkegaard indirectly shared existential terrain. Blaise Pascal, Russian Orthodox Christianity, the New Testament, his own imprisonment and near execution. The Gospels, especially the Sermon on the Mount, Stoicism, Russian peace and spirituality. Nikolai, Immanuel Kant, Friedrich Nietzsche. Okay, Friedrich Nietzsche goes to Upanishads. Okay, Immanuel Kant. Friedrich Nietzsche goes to. Does Friedrich Nietzsche go straight to Upanishads? Oh yeah, Friedrich Nietzsche goes to Arthur Schopenhauer. Okay. Russian Orthodox mysticism, German idealism, Vladimir Solovyov, Plato, Plotinus. Christian mysticism, German idealism, especially Schelling, Jewish and Eastern Christian thought. Plato, Nikolai, Francis Bacon. Russian Orthodox eschatology, Enlightenment, faith in science, biblical resurrection narratives, utopian socialism. French revolutionary thought, Western liberalism, Russian popularist movements. Karl Marx, Friedrich Engels, the Communist Manifesto. Friedrich Nietzsche, Soren Kierkegaard. I don't know how to say that name. Danish philosopher, influenced by Jean-Paul Sartre. Franz Kafka. Did he have Franz Kafka here? Ralph Waldo Emerson. Leo Tolstoy. Leo Tolstoy read Schopenhauer extensively. They returned to Hindu and Buddhist texts directly. His philosophy of nonviolence influenced Gandhi. Franz Kafka. Is he Franz Kafka is here? Huxley. Hess. Herman Hesse. Oh, this is really cool that ChatGPT actually tells me who is he influenced by. Jean-Paul Sartre. Hey, we need more hyperlinks over here. Carl Jaspers, Franz Kafka. Wealthy but deeply religious Copenhagen family. His father's intense piety and melancholy shaped his son's lifelong preoccupation with sin, guilt, and faith. After studying theology at the University of Copenhagen, inherited enough wealth to write full-time. His broken engagement to Regine Olsen became a defining emotional and philosophical event, feeding the themes of love, duty, and sacrifice that pervade his work. Rejected Friedrich Hegel's systemized idealism, arguing that truth is subjective and lived rather than abstractly known. The aesthetic, ethical, and religious culminating in the leap of faith, where reason yields to faith's paradox. Works such as Fear and Trembling, The Concept of Anxiety examine freedom and choice in the anguish of existence. Kafka. Albert Camus. Love the French way. French. Love the French pronunciation. Albert Camus. Oh. Bonjour. Comment ça va? Ça va bien? Et toi? Toi aussi? What does it mean to exist? What does it mean to exist? Do numbers exist? Souls, times, possibilities? This inquiry goes back to Aristotle. If we go Aristotle, who was he influenced by? Teacher Plato. Student Alexander the Great. So it's interesting to see that it's seeing the influence kind of takes you to the OG text, but also the students did their own variations. Like the students were also prolific in terms of how they kept creating, the students were also very prolific in terms of how they created new things on top of it. So they not only learned from someone who was smarter than them, but also they went on to add their own flavor and create more work. Stagira, the Greek city of Stagira, Plato's Academy. Deductive reasoning and the syllogism. First philosophy, being in existence. Is reality made of matter, mind, or both? Is the universe fundamentally one thing or many? Are there underlying laws, substances, processes? How did the West got access to the Upanishads? Alright, let's see. This one is very interesting. The way deep rivers do, quietly at first, suddenly everywhere. Here's the arc of that journey from Sanskrit fires to European salons, ancient India to Persian court. The first big bridge was built under Dara Shikoh. Wow. Okay, you did some good work, Dara Shikoh. Mughal prince, scholar, and Sufi philosopher, best known as the eldest son and heir apparent of Emperor Shah Jahan. Eldest son. Wow. Dara Shikoh did everything. Oh my god. The first big bridge was built under Dara Shikoh, a Mughal prince with a philosopher's hunger. He gathered Sanskrit scholars in India and oversaw the translation of about 50 Upanishads into Persian, calling the collection Sir-i-Akbar, the Great Secret. Sir-i-Akbar. For intellectual and spiritual pursuits, he sought to reconcile Islamic and Hindu philosophies through scholarship and translation. His life and tragic death symbolized the lost potential of a more inclusive Mughal vision. His life and tragic death symbolize the lost potential of a more inclusive Mughal vision. Ajmer, India. Died Delhi, India. Parents Shah Jahan, Mumtaz Mahal. Wow, look at their names. Oh my god. Shah Jahan, the king of the world. Mumtaz Mahal, Mumtaz Palace. I don't know the meaning of Mumtaz. What is the meaning of the word Mumtaz? What is the meaning of the word Mumtaz? It's an Arabic word widely distinguished, excellent, outstanding, chosen above others, outstanding palace, Mumtaz Mahal. Oh my god. Shah Jahan, king of the world, and the outstanding palace are getting married, set apart by quality. Wow, that's pretty good. Graceful excellence. Over time, Mumtaz has become to evoke graceful excellence, not just rank, exalted one of the palace. Scholarship aimed to bridge religious traditions. His Majma ul-Bahrain explored parallels between Islamic Sufism and wow. I want to ask Claude. No, I want to ask Claude because Claude feels me. Claude understands me. Claude has more soul, it feels like. And we now have Claude Max subscription, so we're gonna optimize for Claude. Who are some prominent Sufi philosophers? And Claude did an amazing job with creating that creative lineage of Upanishads. And again, this idea comes from Austin Kleon, so it's amazing that how we are now bridging ideas together. This is beautiful. I think without AI this wouldn't be possible. AI is leading to this overflow, of creative energies actually becoming real. It's actually becoming real. Historical religious figures and philosophical traditions, something I can answer from my knowledge without needing to search. Which of well established historical topics that won't have changed? Rumi. Jalaluddin Muhammad Rumi. Jalaluddin Muhammad. Oh my god, that's the same name as Akbar. There's so much flavor. In Hindi, Sanskrit. There's so much flavor. English is an efficient business language. But if you really want flavor, you want to go to your own language. Spanish, French, Hindi, Sanskrit, Persian. Rumi, Jalaluddin Muhammad Rumi, perhaps the most widely read Sufi poet in the West. His Masnavi is often called the Quran in Persian. His work emphasizes divine love, dissolution of the ego, and union with the beloved. Ibn Arabi, known as Al-Sheikh Al-Akbar, the greatest master, he developed the concept of Wahadat al-Wujud, Wahadat al-Wujud, unity of being, arguing that all existence is a manifestation of the divine. Ibn Arabi, his Fusus al-Hikam and Futuhat al-Makkiyah are foundational texts. Wow. Al-Ghazali, a towering figure who reconciled orthodox Sunni theology with Sufi spirituality. His Ihya Ulum al-Din, revival of the religious sciences. Ihya Ulum al-Din remains deeply influential in his personal spiritual crisis documentary, and Deliverance from Error is a classic of introspective literature. Mansur al-Hallaj, martyred from proclaiming Anna al-Haq, I am the truth God. He represents the ecstatic and highlighting dimension of Sufi experience. An early female mystic from Basra, Rabia al-Adawiyya, who pioneered the concept of selfless divine love, Ishq, famously saying she loved God neither from fear of hell nor hope of paradise. early female mystic from Basra who pioneered the concept of selfless divine love. Selfless divine love. Ishq. 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 Wow. Ishq is a beautiful word. Ishq. Pyar. Ishq. Famously saying she loved God neither from fear of hell nor hope of paradise. Wow. Atar of Nishapur, author of the Conference of the Birds, an allegorical masterpiece about the soul's journey toward God through the annihilation of the self. Now, who were each one of them influenced by? Now we're getting into some juice. Intellectual spiritual influences on each of the Sufi philosophers I mentioned. There's a straightforward knowledge question I can answer from my training data. Ah, it's pretty good. Training data. So you were trained on all of this. Okay. Rumi, deeply shaped by Shamsi Tabrizi, the wandering dervish whose encounter with Rumi catalyzes transformation from scholar to ecstatic poet. He was also influenced by Attar. Rumi reportedly met him as a child. Sanai, whose Hadikat al-Hakika pioneered Persian mystical poetry in the broader Mevlavi tradition. His father, Bahauddin Walad, was a theologian and mystic whose spiritual deity Marif shaped Rumi's early formation. Ibn Arabi drew from Neoplatonism, particularly Plotinus's emanationist metaphysics, filtered through Islamic philosophy. Ibn Masara, an early Andalusian mystic in the Almerian school of Sufism in Spain. He also engaged deeply with Al-Ghazali synthesis in the philosophical traditions of Ibn Sina and Al-Farabi, while claiming direct spiritual transmission from Khidr, the mysterious immortal guide. Al-Ghazali trained in Ash'ari theology and Shafi jurisprudence. Philosophically, he wrestled with and ultimately critiqued Ibn Sina and the Falasifa tradition. His turn toward Sufism was influenced by Al-Muhasibi, the sober school of Baghdad Sufism. Possibly early Christian mysticism, given his travels and his language of divine indwelling. Propriety of publicly proclaiming mystical states, influenced by Sal al-Dastari, Hassan al-Basri, transforming asceticism into a language of love rather than mere fear. Invented the vocabulary of Ishq, then later Sufis will elaborate. Attar of Nishapur, influenced by Sanai al-Hallaj and the broader Khorasani school of Sufism. Now, go further. Who were these guys influenced by? Qalandar tradition, possibly Baba Farid. Attar already covered as primary figure. Sanai influenced by Ghaznavid court culture. Influenced by Plotinus, influenced by Plato, Aristotle, Middle Platonism, and possibly Eastern thought. Influenced by Pseudo-Empedocles, Neoplatonism, possibly Ismaili thought. Rejected social convention. The Malamatiya, path of blame school originating in Nishapur, which cultivated deliberate disrepute to destroy spiritual pride, possibly connected to Al-Ghazali. Like Khur, who mocked the vanity of courtly life. Kubravia order, known for visionary light mysticism and elaborate meditation techniques involving colored lights and spiritual physiology. Plotinus, the source behind so much Islamic philosophy influenced by Plato. The good beyond being, Aristotle, the unmoved mover. Metaphysical vocabulary, Middle Platonism, Philo of Alexandria, synthesis of Greek and Jewish thought, possibly Indian thought. Purana traveled with a Roman military expedition toward India and showed interest in Eastern wisdom. Ibn Sina, shaped by Al-Farabi, second teacher after Aristotle, who mapped second teacher, Aristotle, logic, metaphysics, natural philosophy. Theology of Aristotle actually excerpts from Plotinus, misattributed. Also drew from Galen. Persian. Then migrated eastward. Plato and Aristotle drawing on Pythagoras, Parmenides, Heraclitus, and possibly Egyptian Babylonian wisdom traditions. Hermetic traditions drawing on Egyptian priestly knowledge, Greek philosophy, and Jewish mysticism. Early Islamic PD drawing on Quranic spirituality, Christian monasticism, which Muhammad reportedly admired, Jewish asceticism, and pre-Islamic Arab concepts of nobility and honor. In Syria, Christian mysticism preserving. Now go further. Who were these people influenced by? Let's go. Now we'll make Opus thinking. Now we'll see the power of Opus 4.5 by Claude Anthropic. Prominent Sufi philosopher tracing intellectual lineages through ancient philosophy. Heraclitus. Pythagoras, the Greek philosophical lineage, reportedly spent up to 22 years studying in Egypt with a priest from Memphis and Thebes, learning geometry, astronomy, and religious mysteries. Also allegedly visited Babylon during the Persian conquest, absorbing Chaldean astronomy and mathematics, influenced by Orphism, the Greek mystery cult centered on death, rebirth, and the soul's immortality. Thales of Miletus, the first named philosopher. Did Pythagoras had any contact with the Upanishads? There's no solid evidence. Long answer. Idea keeps returning like a philosophical con because the patterns line up uncannily. What we can say with confidence? Early Upanishads are very dated, 800-500 BC. Pythagoras lived 574-95, so the Upanishads already existed during his lifetime. Traveled eastward to a point, Egypt, Babylon, both were crossroads connected to Persian trade and intellectual routes. Extended toward India, no proof he went that far, but ideas often travel faster than bodies. Transmigration of the soul. Wow, it's crazy. It's crazy that the only thing from Pythagoras that we learn is the Pythagoras theorem and not about the metaphysics that he talks about. Wow, this is very interesting. This is very interesting. The only thing that we know from Pythagoras is Pythagorean theorem, Pythagoras' theorem, but not everything else. Transmigration of the soul, samsara, cycle of rebirth, purification through knowledge, liberation through knowledge. Cosmos ordered by number harmony, cosmos grounded in Brahman. Ascetic discipline, renunciation, inner realization. These similarities feel less like plagiarism and more like parallel discovery. No direct contact, possible indirect influence via Indo-Iranian or Persian intermediaries, or simply independent convergence around deep metaphysical intuitions. Different civilizations turning into the same frequency using different instruments. If you're thinking in terms of intellectual genealogy, it's safer to say represent one of the earliest articulations of non-dual metaphysics. Pythagoras represents an early Western attempt to express cosmic unity through number, harmony, and soul. Two rivers, no proven canal between them, same ocean. Wow. Pythagoras. I also had another thought. Claude, let's go. Give me some quotes from Rumi. Meaningful Rumi quotations, navigating copyright. They have to really think on copywriting. Why do we have to original Persian works are in the public domain. Many English translations are under copyright protection. Popular translators like Coleman Barks, Kabir, Helminski, and others have copyright translations. On the inner life, yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I am wise, so I'm changing myself. On love and connection, your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. The wound is the place where the light enters you. Wow. This is so good. This is so good. The wound is the place where the light enters you. This is crazy. The wound is the place where the light enters you. Nothing can bring you peace but yourself. Rumi, let's go. Rumi. Past and future veil God from our sight. Burn up both of them with fire. Be like a tree and let the dead leaves drop. What do you seek is seeking you. Wow. What do you seek is seeking you. You're not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. What does this mean? What do you seek is seeking you. Explain. We have a word in Hindi. I forgot the word. It's called not Sandhi Vichhed. Vyakran. Oh my god. Vyakran. This is one of Rumi's most enigmatic lines, and it operates on several levels. The surface reading. There's a kind of magnetic reciprocity in the universe. Your deepest longings aren't random. They are signals. The thing you are drawn toward is somehow also drawing you. A calling isn't one directional. A calling isn't one directional. There's a kind of magnetic reciprocity in the universe. Your deepest longings aren't random. They are signals. The thing you are drawn toward is somehow also drawing you. A calling isn't one directional. What are you seeking? What do you seek is seeking you. There's a kind of magnetic. I love the way Claude phrases things, because it feels more like I'm reading a poem. It feels more like I'm reading from a kind, intellectual, smart person. There's a kind of magnetic reciprocity in the universe. Your deepest longings aren't random, they are signals. The thing you are drawn toward is somehow also drawing you. With ChatGPT feels like, ChatGPT feels like Claude needs a browser. ChatGPT feels more like, and I need to be able to share my queries across all the platforms, because it feels like now we are creating some isolations over here. But anyways, ChatGPT feels more like just like someone professional, an assistant, very professional assistant who just gives you stuff. But I'm like, no, it's like you need some flavor. There's a kind of magnetic reciprocity in the universe. Your deepest longings aren't random, they are signals. The thing you are drawn toward is somehow also drawing you. A calling is in one direction. The Sufi reading for Rumi. The ultimate seeking is the soul's yearning for the divine. For Rumi, the ultimate seeking is the soul's yearning for the divine. But here is the twist. That yearning itself is evidence that God is already reaching toward you. For Rumi, the ultimate seeking is the soul's yearning for the divine, but here's the twist, that yearning itself, the Sufi reading for Rumi, the ultimate seeking is the soul's yearning for the divine, but here's the twist, the yearning itself is evidence that God is already reaching toward you. You wouldn't feel the pull if the source wasn't pulling you. The desire for union is proof that separation was always an illusion. For Rumi, the ultimate seeking is the soul's yearning for the divine, but here's the twist, that yearning itself is evidence that God is already reaching toward you. You wouldn't feel the pull if the source wasn't pulling. The desire for union is proof that separation was always an illusion. The psychological reading, what you genuinely want, not surface cravings but deep wants, often reflects something already latent in you. The writer who feels compelled towards stories already is a writer, just one who hasn't written yet. And this is also the reason why I like speaking, because what is happening is that speaking means that there is an output. When you're speaking, there is an output. There are only two outputs. There are speaking and writing. And speaking feels like a better output, because in writing, you are doing a lot of editing. But when speaking, you are unedited. It's all unedited. It's all unedited. What you generally want, not surface cravings, but deep wants, often reflects something already latent in you. The writer who feels compelled toward stories already is a writer, just one who hasn't written yet. The writer who feels compelled toward stories already is a writer, just one who hasn't written yet. The seeking and the identity are entangled. What you genuinely want, not surface cravings, but deep wants, often reflects something already latent in you. The writer who feels compelled towards stories already is a writer, just one who hasn't written yet. The seeking and the identity are entangled. And the identity are entangled. The unsettling reading. This also implies you can escape yourself. If you are seeking distraction, chaos, or self-destruction, those things are seeking you too. The quote isn't necessarily comforting. Wow. By the way, this Pythagoras thing is crazy. Okay, Pythagoras. Absorbing Chaldean astronomy, mathematics influenced by Orphism. Tales of Miletus, first name philosopher who himself studied in Egypt. The Pythagorean emphasis on transmigration of souls has led some scholars to posit contact with Indian thought, though this remains speculative. I think this makes sense. Like, yeah, Indian thought goes into Persia, Pythagoras travels to Persia, and he just learns over there. He just absorbs, has some conversation. Traveled to Egypt. He allegedly learned geometry from the priests and predicted solar eclipse using Babylonian astronomical records. It's claimed that all is water, echo both Egyptian creation myths, the primordial waters of Nun, and Mesopotamian cosmogony, Tiamat, the salt water goddess. Parmenides, influenced by Xenophanes, who critiqued anthropomorphic gods. Actually, now I'm curious. What is the meaning of anthropic? Anthropos meaning human or human being. Wow. Elon tweeted today or whatever, that eventually companies become the opposite of their names. So anthropic will become misanthropic. And anthropic means human, so it's like you are actually making it non-human, which makes sense, which was always the case. The AI company chose the name deliberately, human-centered AI. Models align with human values, judgment, and well-being. AI designed with and for human flourishing, not just performance. Subtle contrast to purely instrumental or superhuman framings of intelligence. So in contrast to purely instrumental or superhuman framings of intelligence, one-line distillation, Anthropic, human is the measure. The observer matters, the values matter, the human remains in the loop. I love how ChatGPT is explaining Anthropic, but this is really cool. The universe appears, it's truly, you understand that, okay, companies are doing the right thing over here, because it's actually explaining in, well, what do we say, in good nature, its own competitor. And this is what they do really good. The universe appears the way it does because it must allow for the existence of human observers. Egyptian creation myths, the primordial waters of Nun, and Mesopotamian cosmogony. Xenophanes who critique anthropomorphic gods and posit a single unmoving divine mind, possibly by Pythagorean circles in southern Italy. And by southern Italy, wow. I like southern Italy. What is happening over there? Tell me more. Opus 4.5. Let's go. Why did Anthropic choose the name Claude? And then we'll go to Opus Haiku Sonnet. It's quite bow to one of the architects of modern mind. Claude Shannon. A mathematician engineer who founded information theory. Restraint. This is an AI god or oracle. It's a system grounded in mathematics of communication, uncertainty, and limits. Uninterested in metaphysical claims about thinking machines, he cared about how information moves, degrades, compresses, and surprises. Naming the model, how information moves, degrades, compresses, surprises. Anthropomorphizing AI as sentient even while it speaks fluently. Right, I think Anthropic doesn't have a voice mode. Anthropic doesn't have a voice mode yet. Anthropic doesn't have a voice mode. Or does it?
Hello, it's me, Claude, and wow, it's pretty exciting talking to you out loud for the first time. How's my voice? I have a few you can choose from. Betty bought a bit of butter, but the bit of butter Betty bought was bitter. If I put it in my batter, it will make my batter bitter, but a bit of better butter will make my batter better. So Betty bought a better bit of butter. Betty bought a bit of butter, but the bit of butter Betty bought...
Amid the mists and coldest frosts, with stoutest wrists and loudest boasts, he thrusts his fists against the posts, and still insists he sees the ghosts.
Fuzzy Wuzzy was a bear. A fuzzy bear was Wuzzy. Fuzzy Wuzzy had no...
If practice makes perfect and perfect need,
She sells seashells by the seashore. The shells she sells.
I'm perfectly practiced and practically perfect.
Fuzzy Wuzzy wasn't very fuzzy.
Amid the mists,
If I put it in my batter...
frosts,
With voice mode, you can stay in the flow when you're on the go. We can prep for a job interview together by running through common questions.
So this is how it
If you
looks like.
upload content, I can analyze your writing for improvements. Planning a trip? I'll suggest must-see spots and tell you to pack your sunscreen. Like any good conversation, I'll listen while you speak. After you're done talking, tap anywhere to send me your response. All right, I'm all ears. What's on your mind?
Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Hello, hello.
Hey, Prashant. Good to hear from you. What are we building or exploring today?
I'm just really excited to hear your voice for the first time.
That's wonderful. Great to connect with you this way. So, what philosophical... Fuzzy Wuzzy was a bear.
if practice,
Fuzzy bear.
amid the
Betty
coldest frosts.
Wuzzy. Fuzzy what?
Yeah, I'm just really excited to talk to you for the first time.
voice does feel different. So, what's on your mind right now? Got a philosophical instrument brewing, or just exploring ideas?
Yeah, it was pretty cool to just talk to you over here about just going deeper and deeper and finding the creative or intellectual DNA of Sufi philosophers. I thought that was pretty cool. Like, how far, how deeper can we go and find that, okay, who is the final boss over here that everybody's influenced by?
That's fascinating. Sufi poetry and mysticism have such rich layers. Are you thinking of translating that exploration into an interactive tool or diving pure philosophy first?
I think that would be really cool to create that into a tool. Why is it so slow?
Perfect. So we're building a Sufi lineage mapper, basically, showing who influenced whom, the intellectual chain. Do you want it interactive, like a family tree, or more of an exploration experience?
Yes, please, family tree. Okay, let's see. Let's see how this works. Pretty cool. It's just very slow.
Nice. How far back do you want to go? Start with Prophet Muhammad and build forward, or begin with early Sufi figures like Rabia?
Okay, this is good, really good, but it's very slow. I don't like that. Okay. Pythagoras arrived in Croton. Okay. What is this? Magna Graecia, history's most intriguing experiments of philosophical living, part mystery school, part political movement, part proto-scientific academy, settlement of Croton. Pythagoras arrived in Croton, modern Croton, Calabria, around 530 BCE, fleeing the tyranny of Polycrates on Samos. Greek colonies there were wealthy, culturally ambitious, and relatively open to new ideas. Within a generation, he had established something unprecedented, a community where philosophy wasn't just studied but lived as a complete way of being. Appeared on levels of initiation, the acousmatikoi received teachings orally and followed practical rules without necessarily understanding the deeper rational. The mathematikoi, listen, acoustic. And mathematicoi, okay. Engaged with theoretical foundations, the mathematics, cosmology, and metaphysics. Their structure created both accessibility and secrecy with core doctrines protected by oaths of silence. Wow. Bean prohibition, communal property, periods of silence for initiate, specific clothing, daily routines of music, exercise, and contemplation. The community included women. Theano, possibly why became a philosopher in her own right. Became politically powerful in Croton and other cities, which bred resentment. More catastrophically, around 450 BC, violent purges swept through southern Italy, meeting houses were burned, members killed or exiled. Philolaws barely escaped. The movement scattered but survived underground for centuries. Western thought profoundly the idea that reality has mathematical structure, the concept of the soul's immortality and transmigration, the notion that contemplation is the highest human activity, and the belief that philosophical community is essential to transformation. Philosophical community is essential to transformation. Given your interest in philosophical instruments and the tension being between comfortable illusion and difficult truth, there's something compelling here. The Pythagoreans understood that philosophy isn't just ideas but practice. The transformation requires both community and discipline, and the genuine wisdom is dangerous enough. Every channel has constraints, alignment, and safety. Intelligence must be understood within bounds, not unleashed without structure. Intelligence must be understood within bounds, not unleashed without structure. Bookish, gentle, non-dominant. That's not accidental. Frames AI as a collaborator, assistant, not a conqueror. OpenAI's naming leans toward ambition and scale. Claude leans more toward clarity and humility. And what about their model names? Opus, Haiku, and Sonnet. Not Hiku, Haiku. Something elegant. They frame intelligence as craft, not conquest. Points to a mode of expression rather than a level on a power ladder. And opus, magnum opus. Sonnet, haiku. Oh my god. Okay, that's like poems. That's like poems. Right. Sonnet is like 2 lines or something. Haiku is like 8 lines. And opus is the magnum opus. Long form composition that integrates many movements into one coherent whole. The most capable, deliberate, and wide context model, optimized for synthesis, deep reasoning, and long arcs of thought. Less about speed, more about coherence across complexity. The implication is subtle but important. Intelligence as composition or reaction. Sonnet is short, structured, and disciplined. I actually like this better. I like this better because you are able to use both Claude and ChatGPT. So both have context about what you're using. So automatically you are triggering Claude. For searches, you are triggering ChatGPT. For these kind of messages, you are triggering Claude. And when you have further questions, you can actually trigger ChatGPT on the side. So this is actually the perfect setup. Okay, I like it. 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 Haiku. Oh, sonnet. Okay. Synthesis, deep reasoning, long arcs with all level of speed, more coherence across the intelligence as composition, not reaction. Composition, not reaction. Sonnet is short, structured, discipline, 14 lines. Right, 14 lines. Strict meter, high expressive density. Precision, clarity, fast, well-formed responses, strong performance in their constraints. Haiku. Minimalism with depth, few syllables, but tuned to perception, timing, atmosphere. Lightweight, fast interaction, low latency, low cost, sharp intuition rather than extended reasoning. Gesture. Single stroke of ink placed just right. Together, opus, sonnet, haiku aren't bigger versus smaller. This is perfect. This is exactly what we wanted. This works really well with how we want things to run. So what is happening is, if you want to actually, yeah, it's really good. You can trigger this on the side. Pretty cool. Anaximander's concept of apeiron, the boundless indefinite source. Wait, I should have just triggered this on the side. Yeah. Again. This is good. This is good. We don't have to go to a different layer. Okay. Revelation from goddess, suggesting connections to Greek mystery traditions and shamanic practices. Heraclitus drew on Ionian natural philosophers. These also shows possible Zoroastrian influence. His emphasis on fire and fundamental element in cosmic logos resonates with Ahura Mazda's sacred fire and Asha. His aphoristic oracular style suggests possible contact with Persian Magi or Greek mystery traditions. Socrates, influenced by the Delphic oracle. Anaxagoras, cosmic nous, nu or mind, and the Sophies. Wow. The Greek philosophical lineage, the Egyptian current, priestly traditions, Hermeticism, Dunun, reach back to the Old Kingdom and beyond. The Pyramid text, the oldest religious text in the world, describing the pharaoh's ascent to the stars and union with Osiris. The Coffin text, democratizing the afterlife journey to non-royals. Key ideas from the Pyramid text. Kingship as a cosmic function. The pharaoh isn't just a ruler, he's a structural component of the universe. Cosmic order intact. The king becomes divine, not metaphorically but ontologically. Royal death, cosmic transition, ascent to the stars. The afterlife is vertical. King ascends often by ladder. Wind, light, flame joins imperishable stars. Immortality, stability in the heavens. Identification with the gods. The deceased king merges with multiple gods depending on context. Osiris, death, resurrection, continuity. Ra, solar, daily rebirth. Adam, primordial creator, self-generated being. Identity is fluid and strategic. Speech as creative power. Words do not describe reality, they instantiate it. Utterances are performative spells. Words do not describe reality, they instantiate it. Speech as creative power. Utterances as performative spells. Speaking correctly, becoming correctly. Silence as death. Articulation as survival. This is metaphysics through grammar. Overcoming death as an enemy. The king must escape outward, dominate death. Body parts are magically reassembled. Enemies are trampled, bound, devoured. Immortality is earned through cosmic struggle, not moral judgment, no ethical judgment yet. Unlike later Egyptian texts, no heart weighing, no moral trial, no universal afterlife. Immortality is elite, technical, and ritual, not ethical. The body matters. The afterlife is embodied. Bones, iron, flesh, divine organs are protected, reactivated, empowered. Resurrection is material continuity, not escape from matter. Chaos versus order. The king's survival reinforces marked cosmic order. Serpents, darkness, dissolution are enemies. To live forever is to hold the universe together. Immortality is a public service. The king's survival reinforces Marth. Becoming primordial, regress forward. The king returns to the pre-creation state, becomes like Atum, self-begotten and self-sustaining existence without dependency. Aligning speech, body, and identity with the deepest structures of the cosmos until the self becomes indistinguishable from the order itself. Maps of the underworld, judgment scenes, transformation spells. Memphite creates through thought and word. Concept of Marth, cosmic order through truth, justice. Hebrew, death, resurrection, divine child, later echoing into Hellenistic mystery, cults, possibly Christianity. Resurrected prototype for countless later narratives. The me, divine decrees or the essence that governs civilization, a concept transcendent forms predating Plato by 2 millennia. Temple astronomy. The ziggurats as cosmic observatories. The identification of gods with planets. Epic of Gilgamesh. Wrestling with mortality, the quest for immortality. Friendship, laws, foundational human themes. Sumerian religion. A skill and resurrected prototype for countless later narratives. Mathematical astronomy predicting eclipses, tracking planetary movements, the zodiac. Reading the cosmos as divine communication. The Enuma Elish, creation through cosmic battle. Order emerging from chaos. Zoroastrianism. Zarathustra's dates disputed. Possibly the most influential religion you have never fully appreciated. Ethical dualism. Ahura Mazda, wisdom, light versus Angra Mainyu, destruction, darkness. Eschatology. Resurrection of the dead. Final judgment, heaven and hell, a savior figure. All concepts that entered Judaism during the Babylonian exile and thence into Christianity and Islam. The sacred fire. Atar as divine presence. Free will. Humans choose between truth and lie. The Gathas, Zarathustra's hymns, among the oldest religious poetry influenced by earlier Indo-Iranian traditions, shared with the Vedas. Zoroastrianism, possibly the most influential religion you have never fully appreciated. Ethical dualism. Ahura Mazda. Agamenu. The Indo-Iranian root Vedic religion shares a common ancestor with Zoroastrianism in Proto-Indo-Iranian religion. The Rig Veda hymns to Agni, fire cognate, Indra, Varun, Mitra, cognate with Mitra. Key ideas from the Rig Veda. Wow, very good ChatGPT. Very good Whisper Flow. You got Rig Veda. I feel like somehow because because the founder of Whisper Flow is Indian, we have some Sanskrit taken care of. Sanskrit is taken care of. Cosmic God, the universe runs on an invisible rhythm. Principle that keeps stars in their lane, seasons in sequence, truth aligned with reality, ethics, nature, ritual are one braided cord. Speech is greater power. Wow. Whoa. It feels like the same thing as the pyramid text. Wow. Words don't describe reality, they participate in its making. It's the exact same thing. Mantra is technology. Wow. Sounds shape the world. The poet priest isn't a commentator but a co-creator. The poet priest isn't a commentator but a co-creator. Words don't describe reality, they participate in its making. Mantra is technology. Sound shapes the world. Fire as mediator. Agni is everywhere. Earth. Lightning, sun, digestion. He carries offerings from humans to gods, and insight from gods to humans. Fire is consciousness, is motion. The gods are forces, not characters. Indra. Power. Courage, storm, victory. Varun, moral order, cosmic law. Soma, ecstasy, inspiration, altered perception. These aren't personalities, but modes of reality you can invoke. Many gods, one reality. Truth is one. The wise call it by many names. This is not confusion, it's plural vision. Multiplicity is how the one plays. Creation is a mystery, even to the gods. The Rig Veda doesn't pretend certainty. Creation may have arisen from desire, or from heat, or from nothing at all, or maybe no one knows, not even the gods. Radical epistemic humility 3,000 years early. Sacrifice as participation, not transaction. Yajna isn't bribing gods. It's synchronizing human action with cosmic order. Ritual is alignment, not superstition. Alignment. Sacrifice as participation, not transaction. Participation. Alignment, not superstition. Joy, vitality, world affirmation. This is not a renunciatory text. It celebrates strength, wealth, song, victory, fertility, dawn. Life is sacred as lived. The seer as receiver. Knowledge is heard, not invented. Insight arrives when the mind is tuned. Knowledge is heard, not invented. Wow, this goes back to Rick Rubin. He's like, yeah, the time of the idea has come, and if you are tuned, whoever is tuned, the idea will arrive in their mind. Knowledge is heard, not invented. Insight arrives when the mind is tuned. The rishis are antennas, not authors. They're antennas, not authors. Again, very cool idea. Antennas, your antenna. And if you're aligned, and if the time for that idea has come, it will land in your antenna. I'm really curious. Tell me about the life of Vint Cerf, and how did he come across? What was he doing before he came across the idea of building internet? in a flash, slowly like mathematician discovering a hidden structure or following constraints. Problem pressure. He was hard of hearing from a young age. Was never casual for him. Wow, he had silence. He had silence. And when you have silence, you go inwards. When you go inwards, you hear. Signals, clarity, redundancy, error correction. These weren't abstractions, they were lived necessities. The sensory communication would later echo through every decision, choice he made. Mathematics at Stanford, computer science at UCLA. Computer science itself was barely a discipline, it was more like a frontier camp. Before anything called internet existed, he was working as a graduate student on packet-switched networking. Crucially, he wasn't asking, how do we build a global network? He was asking, how do we get different computers to talk to each other reliably? Part of a team working on ARPANET. Already existed when Cerf entered the picture. It connected machines, but only within one network. The limitation became the spark. The real problem that gave birth to the internet. By the early 1970s, multiple networks were popping up. ARPANET satellite, radio-based, university and military systems, all incompatible. Each network worked internally, but they couldn't talk to each other. Each network worked internally, but they couldn't talk to each other. This is the key insight. The internet was born from the problem of internetworking, not networking. Cerf's question became, how can independent networks, each with their own rules, communicate without central control? Assume the network itself was unreliable, move intelligence to the edges, let each network remain autonomous, focus on packets, not circuits, on a product, not a company, and philosophy embedded in code. Slow, patient, collaborative work. He optimized for openness. No central authority, no single owner, no enforced hierarchy. He thought in layers, separate concerns, let complexity emerge upward. The internet wasn't designed to be social, commercial, or addictive. Resilient, interoperable, everything else came later. The deepest inventions often arise when someone refuses to solve the wrong abstraction, not how do we build the biggest thing. The deepest inventions often arise when someone refuses to solve the wrong abstraction. What assumption is silently breaking as the system scales? Cerf noticed that networks would multiply, not converge, so he designed for pluralism. How was Cerf known to be spending his day in graduate school? While working at Stanford as a professor, Cerf collaborated with Bob Kahn, who was facing the same problem. Computer science corridors. You would not have found Vint Cerf. Ooh. Currently serves as Vice President and Chief Internet Evangelist at Google. I think this is what Dario Amodei was talking about, that what Google is really good at is it was really good at being that research culture. It was really good at building that research culture, really growing that ecosystem of research. It was always research first. So it's really cool that they are giving benefit, they are rewarding, they are bringing that person in. PhD computer science, Stanford, Turing Award, Medal of Freedom, Queen Elizabeth Prize for engineering, IEEE Medal of Honor. He's still getting awards, co-developing the internet's architecture and co-founding the Internet Society, building the internet, advancing the advocate for an open, accessible, and secure internet, include advancing the interplanetary internet communication framework for space missions. His lifetime of contributions has earned him membership in the National Academy of Engineering and Royal Society, cementing his role as cornerstone figure in the digital age. Monk-like. Heroic cinematic feats, his days were quiet, almost monk-like, dense with thinking. Living inside the lab, known for long, steady hours in the lab, not frantic, not performative, he showed up early, stayed late, and treated the lab less like a workplace, more like an extension of his mind. Graduate school for him wasn't a phase to get through, it was a place to inhabit. Reading obsessively but selectively, he spent a significant portion of his day reading technical papers, system documentation. He read to understand why a system was designed the way it was, where assumptions were hiding, what would break if scale or conditions change. Writing, rewriting, diagramming. Notes, protocol drafts, flow diagrams, edge case scenarios. His notebooks were less class notes and more maps of thought. He liked to externalize complexity onto paper so the mind could move freely again. Talking, but only with the right people. Despite being reserved, Cerf spent real time deep technical conversation with peers and mentors. Not chat or focused dialogue, he was especially drawn to people who could hold abstractions without hand waving, argue rigorously without ego, sit with uncertainty without rushing to conclusions. This is how ARPANET problems quietly fermented into internet solutions. Teaching and explaining. Explaining concepts patiently to others is mattered. Explaining focuses clarity. Clarity reveals weak abstractions. Weak abstractions invite better architectures. Constraints pile up at contradiction surface. Only then would he attempt synthesis. His days often look like long periods of quiet analysis followed by sudden precise progress. No drama, just accumulation. He wasn't chasing startups, he wasn't trying to be famous, he wasn't optimizing for speed or recognition, he wasn't working backward from a grand vision, he was working forward from reality. Thinking as labor, clarity as the output, no branding, no urgency theater. Just careful attention day after day. Fundamental ideas tend to grow quietly in rooms where nobody's watching, guided by people who care more about whether something works and whether it looks impressive. Wow. Rigved. Joy, vitality, world affirmation. Strength, wealth, song, victory, fertility, dawn, life is sacred, as lived. Knowledge is heard, not invented. Inside our eyes, when the mind is tuned, the rishis are antennas, not authors. Receiver. Sacrifice is participation or transaction. Creation is mystery, even to God. Many gods, one reality. Truth is one. The wise call it by many names. This is not confusion, it's plural vision. Multiplicity is how the one plays. The gods are forces, not characters. Ecstasy, inspiration, altered perception. Moral order, cosmic law, power, courage, storm, victory. Mediator. Cosmic order, universe runs on invisible rhythm. Principle that keeps stars in their lane, seasons in sequence, truth aligned with reality. While not fully philosophical, yet you can already feel unity beneath plurality. The self mirrored in the cosmos, consciousness as fundamental. The Upanishads are latent inside, like a tree inside a seed. If later Indian philosophy asks what is real, the Rig Veda asks how does reality sing? Sacred intoxicating drink used in rituals, same word in Vedic and Avestan, Soma, Hauma, Rita, Asha, cosmic order. Same root word. The concept of sacrifice, maintaining cosmic order through ritual, the Upanishads, then internalizing this. Brahman, the ultimate reality behind all phenomena. Atman, the self identical with Brahman. Maya, the illusory nature of multiplicity. Moksha, liberation from the cycle of rebirth. On direct contact, Alexander's campaign, straight routes. Semitic lineages, ancient Israelite religion, Judaism, Christianity, Islam. the high god whose name persists in Israel, Ishmael. Ishmael, okay. Egyptian institution Moses raised in Egyptian code, possible influence of Akhenaten's monotheism, Mesopotamian contact, flood narratives, Gilgamesh, Noah, creation accounts, the Babylonian exile introducing Zoroastrian eschatology, prophetic tradition, Elijah, Isaiah, Ezekiel's Merkabah, chariot vision, the root of Jewish mysticism. Philo of Alexandria, the crucial synthesizer of Jewish scripture with Greek philosophy, especially Plato's Stoics. His allegorical method and concept of the logos are divine intermediary influenced both Christian theology and later Islamic philosophy. A diverse set of moments sharing dualism, the material world as flawed creation of a lesser God, divine spark, the human soul as trapped light seeking return, gnosis, salvific knowledge rather than faith or works, emanationism, the divine realm as a series of aeons descending from an unknowable source. Platonic dualism, forms versus matter, Zoroastrian dualism, light versus dark, Jewish apocalypticism, and Merkabah mysticism, Egyptian afterlife traditions, possibly Buddhist concept of the world is suffering, liberation through insight. Ritual baptism in living water, veneration of John the Baptist, hostility to Jesus, complex cosmology of light beings and dark powers, preserves Aramaic as liturgical language, possible repository of pre-Christian Jewish sectarian traditions. The shamanic substratum. Beneath all these civilized traditions lie older practices, vision quests, ecstatic journeys, the shaman traveling to other realms, plant sacraments, soma, hauma, possibly ergot in the ancestral communion, the dead as sources of wisdom, animal transformation, shape-shifting spirit animals, Paleolithic cave art of Glasgow, Chauvet. Egyptian pre-solar hymns, the Babylonian storm watchers, celestial mathematics, Zoroastrian fire tenders, cosmic battle, Upanishadic sages, interior journey, and Paleolithic shamans. Planted vision, okay, you watch who influenced whom, the honest answer, it says everyone influenced everyone, the channels we can trace, and channels not lost to time. Go further, and who were these influenced by? Paleo, anthropology, neuroscience, evolution, biology, and philosophy of mind converge. We're asking what made mystical experience possible in the first place. The cognitive revolution. Something happened to Homo sapiens around 70,000 years ago. Suddenly, in evolutionary terms, we see symbolic art, orc engravings, beads, figurines, burial with grave goods, implying afterlife beliefs, long-distance trade networks, implying abstract value systems, explosive technological innovation. What changed? Theories include the recursion theory. Genetic mutation enable recursive thought, the ability to embed concepts within concepts infinitely. I know that you know that I know. This same capacity enables grammar, planning, imagining futures containing imagined futures, imagining futures containing imagined futures, nested clause. Wow. And transcendence, concepts containing concepts beyond experience, concepts containing concepts beyond experience, influenced by random genetic mutation, possibly by the Also in the whoa. What is this? Fox P2 gene or rated neural architecture, but what selects for such mutations? Key biological switches that made human language and speech possible. Here's a tight, useful picture. Regulates how certain brain circuits develop. It's especially active in regions involved in speech motor control sequencing actions. Small tweak had outsized effects. Song learning and vocalization. Wow. We'll never end. We'll never end. We'll just keep going. If we keep finding stuff like this, we'll just keep going. Social brain hypotheses require tracking complex relationships. Who owns whom, who's allied with whom, who's receptive. This arms race for social intelligence produced brains capable of modeling other minds, theory of mind, which then turn that modeling capacity inward and upward. Wow. Required thinking complex relationships. Who owns whom, who's allied with whom, who's receptive. The arms race for social intelligence produced brains capable of modeling other minds, which then turn that modeling capacity inward and upward. Wow. Influenced by group size increases, possibly driven by climate pressures, possibly by intergroup competition. Intergroup competition. The extended mind, external symbol systems, cave paintings, ritual, language itself didn't just express thought but enable new forms of thought. The first person to make a mark, meaning Bison created technology for thinking that rewired subsequent brains influenced by the feedback loop between material culture and neural plasticity. Tools shaped minds that make better tools. Altered states as evolutionary heritage. The capacity of mystical experience isn't a bug but a feature. The brain states associated with transcendence, temporal lobe activity, default mode, network suppression, serotonergic system activation appear to be universal across culture, reliably inducible through fasting, rhythmic movement, sensory deprivation, breathwork, psychedelics. Fasting, rhythmic movement, sensory deprivation, breathwork, psychedelics associated with specific neural architecture we all share. This suggests an evolutionary origin theories. The stoned ape hypothesis. Terence McKenna. I just heard one of my friends talk about Terence McKenna. Early hominids following game herds encountered psilocybin mushrooms growing in dung. Low doses enhanced visual acuity, hunting advantage. Medium doses enhanced sociality and sexual arousal, reproductive advantage. High doses produced visionary states that seeded religious imagination. This produces lasting increases in openness, a personality trait, and the neural architecture it activates is ancient. Temporal lobe sensitivity. Top quotes from Terence McKenna. Culture is not your friend. The cost of sanity in this society is a certain level of alienation. The problem is not to find the answer, it's to face the answer. The problem is not to find the answer, it's to face the answer on novelty, time, and change. Nature loves courage. You make the commitment, and nature will respond to the commitment by removing impossible obstacles. Nature loves courage. We are not dropped into the world, we grow out of it. Wow. The universe is not only queer than we suppose, but queer than we can suppose. Psychedelics are illegal not because a loving government is concerned that you may jump out of da 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 da, are illegal because they dissolve opinion structures and culturally lay down models of behavior information processing. Dissolve opinion structures and culturally laid down models of behavior information processing. The psychedelic experience is a confrontation with the unspeakable. Wow. This is very interesting. Because this is exactly what happens. You ask someone what is experience like, and it's really hard to explain it. And that's the point. For you to experience something which you don't even have language to express for. The psychedelic experience is a confrontation with the unspeakable. If words fail, then it is because words were made for a reality that is not this. Words were made for a reality that is not this. If words fail, then it is because words were made for a reality that is not this. Wow. I really love this one because I've started saying this a lot. Terence McKenna on language and reality. Language is not just a tool for describing reality. It actually, wow, wait, this is exactly what I have been talking about, and Terence McKenna is talking about the same thing. Wow. Language is not just a tool for describing reality. It actually creates it. We are trapped in language, but language is also the ladder out. I think this is the reason why learning more languages is helpful, because you are now describing experiences that you can express in a certain box of words. Language is not just a tool for describing reality, it actually creates it. We are trapped in language, but language is also the ladder out. On meaning and edge, take it easy, but take it. Take it easy, but take it. The felt presence of immediate experience is the only thing that matters. The felt presence of immediate experience is the only thing that matters. Fear is the mind killer. But curiosity is the antidote. Wow. Trust the experience, be open, pay attention. On meaning and edge. Terence McKenna. Let's go. The greater the inferiority feeling, the higher the goal of personal power. Claude Shannon, I ain't scared of nothing. Whoso would be a man must be a nonconformist. Ralph Waldo Emerson. A foolish consistency is the hobgoblin of little minds. Temporal lobes, history of mystical experience, sense presence, and religious visions may have been selected for because they enable pattern detection, seeing agency where there might be predators, better false positives and better false negatives. Social cohesion through shared ritual experience, meaning making that buffered against existential terror. Influenced by the savanna environment where our ancestors evolved. High predation pressure, need for group coordination, unpredictable resources requiring psychological resilience. Our ancestors evolved. High predation pressure, need for group coordination, unpredictable resources requiring psychological resilience. The savanna environment. before Homo sapiens, Neanderthal spirituality, burial of dead, La Chapelle en Saint, possible grave gods, flower offerings, Shawnee the Arcade disputed, eagle talon jewelry, symbolic ornamentation, cave bear skull arrangements, possible ritual. This implies the neural substrate for religious behavior predates our species. It may trace to Homo heidelbergensis, the common ancestor of sapiens and Neanderthals. Homo heidelbergensis. Heidelbergensis. This implies the neural substrate for religious behavior predates Homo erectus. Controlled fire for perhaps 1 million years. Hand access symmetry beyond functional necessity. Ashleen had access, aesthetic sense, symbolic meaning, possible care for injured elderly group members. Mani sea fossils, fire itself may be foundational. Gathering around flames created the first focal point for social attention. The first shared altar state. Flickering flame smoke inhalation. The first technology for pushing back darkness. A literal metaphorical conquest of night and chaos, influenced by bipedalism, freeing hands for tool use, meat eating, providing calories for expensive brain tissue, climate fluctuations, selective adaptability. The Cambrian explosion. Sudden appearance of complex body planes including eyes, inner theater. Pre-dynamics created selection pressure for ever more sophisticated world models. Rising oxygen levels, the end of snowball Earth. Intarians, jellyfish, hydra. Rapid signal transmission faster than chemical diffusion. Integration of information. Coordination behavior of complex bodies. Transition from single cell to multicellular life requiring coordination mechanisms. Eukaryotic cell. A bacterium that became mitochondria creates cells complex enough to eventually form neurons. Influenced by endosymbiosis, cooperation, parasitism, event that became permanent. Life building complexity through incorporation of otherness. Life building complexity through incorporation of otherness. Everything is just flavor. It's not complicated, it's just more flavor because we keep adding, we keep remixing. The pre-biological, the origin of life. Self-replicating molecules emerge, probably RNA or precursors in hydrothermal vents or tidal pools. The first subject that cared about its own persistence, however primitively. The formation of Earth. Protoplanetary disk around the young sun, influenced by previous generation of stars that had lived and died, forging heavy elements in their cores, scattering them in supernova. We are literally made of dead stars. Hydrogen fuses to helium, helium to carbon, carbon to oxygen, up through iron. Forged in stellar cores billions of years ago. The first stars. Light emerged from darkness, quantum fluctuations in the early universe that became regions of slightly higher density, the seeds of all cosmic structure. Cosmological origin, the Big Bang, space-time, matter, and energy. You cannot describe with current physics the fundamental forces separating particles, condensing it from pure energy, the cosmos, cooling into the configuration that would permit chemistry, life consciousness. A universe that permits questioners. Collision of higher dimensional brains. String theory, M theory. Deepest question we are asking: why is there something rather than nothing? Why is there experience rather than mere mechanism? This is the hard problem of consciousness. When we explain every neural correlate, why is there something is like to be a brain rather than just information processing in the dark? Panpsychism, consciousness fundamental like mass or charge. Every physical system has some form of experience. Complex brains have complex experience. Strange resonance with Advaitic and Sufi metaphysics. Consciousness and the ground of being. Giulio Tononi, consciousness identical to integrated information. Any system that integrates information has experience proportional to its. The universe may be slowly waking up as complexity increases. The universe may be slowly waking up as complexity increases. Cosmopsychism. The universe itself is conscious. Individual minds are dissociated fragments of cosmic consciousness. Echoes Ibn Arabi's Wahadat al-Wujud, all existence as divine self-disclosure. Wow. So Rumi was influenced by Shams, who was influenced by the Qalandars, who inherited Khorasani Sufism, which absorbed Neoplatonism, which came from Plato, who learned from Pythagoras, who studied in Egypt, where priests preserved traditions from the Nile Valley, which emerged from Neolithic religion, which grew from Paleolithic shamanism, which was enabled by the cognitive revolution, which depended on neural architecture evolved over millions of years, which acquired neurons that emerged 700 million years ago, which acquired complex cells from 2 billion years ago, which acquired life from 4 billion years ago, which acquired a planet from 4.5 billion years ago, which acquired stellar forges from the first stars, which requires gravity and quantum fluctuations in the Big Bang, which emerged from something we cannot name. The universe influence itself into being able to ask the question. Wow. Create a family tree representing the full chain. Oh my god. This isn't working right now. You can try again later. What do you mean? What do you mean? I'm a max subscriber. Alright, that's a stream. Merci.